I'm Joe Badelli, Chief Revenue Officer here at Propy. And today, getting into the holiday spirits, happy holidays, happy new year if I don't see you on next week's webinar. And next week's webinar, I believe we'll have a special guest, Propy's own CEO, Natalia Karaneva. And we're going to talk a little bit about the metaverse next week. So you'll want to join in. But today, we got two guests. We're up in the Northeast here with Stephen Foster and Jeremiah Stokes, and I'll let them appropriately introduce themselves. But I do want to give a shout out to my future sponsor, in case they ever come across and listen to this, Russian River Brewing Company, because we are 2 months away, maybe a little less, from the release of Pliny the Younger. That's my triple IPA favorite, and it's only available for around 2 weeks a year while supplies last. So I'm getting into that holiday spirit, folks. So Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself, your real estate background, your brokerage.
Yeah, so Steve Foster out of Keller Williams Realty in Vermont. I'm a broker here in Stowe, if you don't know, the ski capital of the East. I've been in private equity before I did client-facing real estate, mostly commercial development, multifamily, and mixed use. I have been client-facing now for the last 3 years, built a nice little team for myself, and excited to see what crypto has to offer the real estate game.
Thank you, Stephen. And Stephen, what's your crypto background now?
So I've been in the space and investing since 2014. I was introduced to it from a friend of mine who was one of the original support techs at Coinbase, and he came up to ski with me one day and said, "Hey, I don't have any money, but I'll give you this thing called a Bitcoin." And I laughed and said, "You're nuts. I'll just give you some cash if you need it, man. Like, don't worry about it." And then 2018 rolled around, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, you still have that Bitcoin?" I said, "Oh yeah." So that kind of kicked me off, really interested in the space, and I've been actively investing and looking at projects since. So like many of you, I was an instant billionaire last night for a little while, until the world corrected and the matrix went back to normal. But here we are working today.
Oh, yeah, that's just to hype us up a little more, right? That's just a flash of what the future could be.
Just a flash. And
Jeremiah Stokes, how about yourself?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Steve. Nice seeing you here today. Hey, everybody in the audience. I see some more people coming on in. Hey, it's great being here. I'm Jeremiah Stokes. I'm from Foster Healy Real Estate. We serve the north, central, east region of Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, and we have agents that are licensed in and around the New England region. What brought me into the Propy in the crypto area is really kind of what Steve was saying. Quite a few years back, there was the Great Recession, and people were kind of coming up and approaching you with these new things. And once I heard about Propy, I kind of just had to get on board. Very excited.
All right, so let's talk about, we haven't been up in the Northeast in quite a while for our webinar. So Stephen, what's the market like New Hampshire, Vermont area right now?
Well, there is a ton of transplant traffic coming from metro areas, Boston, New York, Philadelphia. So we've experienced, like many rural markets, a drastic increase in new customers coming in and buying, and as such, a very steep demand with very low inventory. So prices have driven up, to I would almost say 200, but that's probably a little much. Sometimes 100% or more on a house from 2 years ago. So it's been a very interesting ride in this last year and a half.
And how are the closings done? Completely online, or they're forced to drive back and forth, visit property? I mean, what made the broker, yourself and the brokerage, change as far as how it adapts to clientele that's coming from outside the area?
Yeah, so we use, like many people, a DocuSign platform. It's actually Dotloop right now. It's switching to Remind. The state of Vermont is relatively small, so we're able to integrate almost all of the agents into one single platform that right now is .loop. So most of our transactions are occurring digitally with POAs for attorneys. We don't use title companies. Attorneys do our title research. So I haven't been to a closing since March of 2019.
So if a request comes in, because you're in the ski area, and I know from Salt Lake City to up, close to me in Tahoe region, Vail, you can add Vail, Aspen, Breckenridge, those in there. Properties, or those are properties being attracted by investors, second home, Airbnb type properties, and also attract some crypto buyers. How are your attorneys set up currently to handle a crypto buyer request?
Yeah, the answer is they're not. And I say that because this morning I had a conversation with an attorney that I'm doing a personal transaction on, and I was discussing the Propy platform and how this was how I wanted to integrate him into the transaction itself. And you could see in this conversation, because I happened to be in his office, his head starting to spin a little bit. And I said, well, calm down. It's not that complicated. It's just new. We're going to get through it together. So while Vermont is unique in that it was one of the first states to allow transactions to be recorded on the blockchain through statutory regulation, not many people have done it. So we're in new territory, so to speak. So, I think lawyers are trying to understand what it all means, but they haven't fully wrapped their heads around it yet.
And for you in the audience, I'll come back to the lawyers because I've had some really good meetings while I was attending the real estate weekend in Miami. And I'll give you a quick update on to that conference that just concluded this past Sunday. But first, let's get to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, how about in the Massachusetts market?
So over here in the Massachusetts and North Central area, now over the last 10 years, we all have seen a great change in the entire market. All right. Let's say back in 2017, as Steve can attest, you could buy a home down the street in any neighborhood and it'd be significantly reduced. For an example, in the neighborhood down the street from me, a gentleman purchased a home for $250,000. He just sold last week for $450,000. He's been there for a year, but that's because large investors, individuals moving out of that city that are looking to be more remote, are coming out this way. They have the money, they have the availability, but it's not just them. A lot of investors are coming out here and picking up 1, 2, 3, 4 multifamily units that the individual investors out here not necessarily could afford to maintain, but couldn't just scoop up in time. And it's not because they don't have the necessary funds available. It's because the ease of entry into this type of industry has had so many regulations and barriers put upon it that the general individual can't just jump into the real estate game. You have to have some sort of opportunity presented to you. And that's what's fantastic about Propy, is it opens up that opportunity and breaks down that barrier of entry to allow anybody to come into this market and have clear transparency on exactly what's going on. Over here, there's been quite a bit of information and discussion about purchasing properties, not just on NFT, but within crypto, because there's a lot of crypto investors out in Boston. Back in, I want to say 2013, when I really got into crypto, there wasn't a lot of people. Same thing, I had a friend that I worked with say, hey, do you know anything about Bitcoin? I said, no, I took a look into it and I haven't looked back since. It's heating up very fast. And I've actually had people in my office reach out because they know I'm into crypto. Said, hey, Jeremiah, what's this Bitcoin? I have clients with Bitcoin. They're interested in receiving properties. And this is actually something we've added on to purchase agreements, or offers to say, hey, to try to get that transaction settled, maybe we'll offer Bitcoin as just another incentive. You have to get fancy around here. Everything's been tried. In order to land that deal, you have to be creative.
And let's touch base, Jeremiah. I think recently, and congratulations, you just went through Propy's Crypto Certified Agent course. You got a Crypto Certified Agent badge. What was your crypto knowledge before the course? And why? What brought you to the course?
So my crypto knowledge before the course, as I mentioned, I believe it was 2013 timeframe. The economy still wasn't very good. I think I just liquidated on my Bank of America stuff. And I was super happy because I picked them up at like $1.50 and they sold them at $5.
Well, I know that time frame because I did that right after the 2008. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And B
so
of
there's
A
like
is,
this whole little time.
B of A is like 44 now, I think, last I looked, or something like that. So
Hey, GameStop's up there too, and so is AMC. But you know what? All that tells me is that there's a demand out there from the people, and there's so many barriers, and people are tired. They're tired of not being able to do what they wish to do and spend their money the way they want to. It's so difficult. And I remember hearing so many voices in the past saying, hey, you know, I'd love to be able to buy crypto, but it's so hard. But it's coming over time. Things are coming down, and the barrier of entry is opening up. And it's really nice. And that's what really does things for Propy. Being going back to, you know, what's my experience with crypto? Well, I had those Bitcoin. I had those Ethereum. I had I had those Dogecoin now just because I had to get them. You know, but what can I do with them? I can't do much, you know. And if I want to go buy a property with them, well, I'm very limited. I have to find the correct mortgage broker. I have to find the correct bank, and I have to find an individual that's knowledgeable, has the expertise, has the experience, not just from a day, but over a long period of time. Because anybody in the NFT, the crypto, the blockchain, this world understands that one single day feels like 4 years. And I don't know about you, but these bags under my eyes weren't here yesterday. Just because I'm on these Twitter spaces, on these clubhouses, and these group chats every single day from 4 o'clock until later, hearing what everybody's wanting and answering these emails from agents in the office. Hey, you said you had a client out there that was willing to throw Bitcoin up for an apartment. You know, is he still around? And I'm like, yeah, he is. You know, let's do it. But the problem is we just don't have that ability to do it until now. And here we are.
all right,
I
so
love it. I'm so excited.
since you had it, are you having in the Massachusetts area, are you having any buyers or sellers asking about using cryptocurrency as part of a transaction for property?
Absolutely. The problem, though, is that there's a lot of fear. Okay, it's still such an unregulated and restrictive environment that these individuals that have these gains or have these investments in these assets, and I say assets to encompass the whole, industry that we're talking here. They're afraid to let them go because the volatility. You know, if I go buy a house tomorrow for 4 Bitcoin, who says it's not going to go to 100,000? Who says that? At the same point, there's so many intermediaries that have to get their hands involved. And as you mentioned before, what attorneys are out there that are familiar with this? But the good thing that is through the Propy certification course, what I have been able to do is grow my network so vast that I would have never been able to do otherwise. Be able to meet the attorneys, the mortgage brokers, the lawyers, these individuals that all have crypto. I met my accountant and I switched to my accountant because he has agents in the office that are accountants that are certified in crypto. I have a title company that I deal with that have specific attorneys in there that are crypto friendly. They all have crypto. I ask, I say, which program do you use? Do you use Coinbase, Binance? What are you doing? And they can show me. They can articulate these. And these are the individuals that we bring into our network. And the buyers and the sellers that are coming to us, we're linking them up. The problem is we haven't had the ability to do so until now, and it's still so new. I think that once spring 2022 comes around, we're really going to see a change in the global market with NFT sales and the understandability of what exactly an NFT is and how that relates to a real estate transaction be more well understood. And that's going to be people like us that are going to be able to help articulate that, bring those buyers and sellers together with the networks we start developing now, and make them some really good magic happen to help bring peace and prosperity to everybody.
Jeremiah,
Excellent. Yeah, Stephen, before we're going to get back to you, I'm going to pause for station identification. Hi, this is your Propy Webinar Network. Welcome. If you're just joining us, we are talking about crypto, blockchain as it relates to the real estate industry and future trends. And if you're not aware, if you're an agent, yes, you can do a deal with crypto. Yes, there are lenders that will give loans against their buyers' crypto holdings. And yes, there is a platform that you can do the transaction, or your attorney can do the transaction, whether traditional with fiat, crypto, an NFT that has integrated title and escrow services that know how to do this. Yes, you guessed it, it's Propy. And I'm going to show you at the end, if you're an agent, how you can actually earn Propy tokens, because Propy is also a utility token. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, I wanted to just touch on a point that Jeremiah made, that, in talking about the hurdles to completing a crypto transaction for a piece of property. And one of the points he made is knowledge base. And that's where we as agents have such an opportunity to create value for our customers. If we're the ones providing them with that knowledge and helping them learn about the space, that's value add for those customers. It increases our proposition and makes people want to work for us. So us as agents have an opportunity to be movers in this space simply by learning the process and being able to articulate it back to our customers to give them those other options. So.
Great. Now let's talk a little bit, Stephen. Let's come back to Vermont, because I remember Vermont well. Propy was involved in dialogue with the Vermont when they were looking at land title and registries on blockchain.
South Burlington, yeah.
Yeah, and they were really taking a forefront there, and then it just kind of dissolved itself. But they did pass the legislation. They did recognize it. Where do you feel blockchain? Well, first of all, will blockchain enter real estate and more predominant in the future?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any reason why it won't. Simply because if you have an opportunity to go view your title records online, that's exactly where the blockchain can come in handy. Most of our larger markets have the ability to go on town records and look at them digitally. There are a significant amount of very rural communities that do not do that just yet. But being able to just log onto your computer and see a title chain is a huge value for not only me as a real estate broker, but as attorneys, title agents, et cetera. And I think that's really where blockchain technology and Propy can come in handy. It's creating that known and trusted record of recording. So I don't see any reason why it doesn't take the place of a traditional recording system like your town clerk. Now, you'll never get the town clerk to admit that, but.
Yeah, it's designed to enhance it to the benefit of the consumer. At the end of the day, folks, blockchain is going to make it traceable, more transparent, more secure. Those are all benefits to the consumer. And benefits to the consumer ultimately win. If any of the attendees in our audience today, and we are streaming on, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as a live audience here. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat window, and I'll relay it either to myself or Stephen Foster with Keller Williams, or Jeremiah Stokes with Foster's Healy. Please go ahead and share it. All right, I want to give you guys an update. I was down at Real Estate Week in Miami, not because I'm looking at you guys up in the Northwest freezing your, what's off. And me, I'm in California and it's only 50 degrees here and I'm bundled up. We don't turn the heater on, we're in California. But Miami was like 80 degrees. It was kind of too hot. But I was listening to the keynote speaker, which was Kevin O'Leary from the Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful gets up and he starts talking to Real Estate Group, and he starts talking about NFT and his watch collection. Now, granted, yeah, probably 75% of the audience had no idea what he was talking about. And that's okay. We're still early in that process. There's only been one property that's been NFT. And that was done by Propy a few months ago. That's in the world. But folks, keep tuned. We have a few more scheduled for Q1 timeframe next year. So you'll see some more coming. It is a process, and we're doing very selectively on what we select. And so we can show the transparency, the streamline, the ease of use. But Mr. Wonderful is getting up there, and he's a big watch collector. And he's explaining how he's NFTing his watch collections because he can take a high-res image. These aren't cheap watches, you know, we're not talking Timex or some of the less expensive ones. He's taking high-res images of the front, high-res images of the back, digital copy of the original watch certificate, putting all those together as an NFT. Why? Because knockoffs in the watch world is a problem. And if you're going to spend 10, 15, 20, $50,000 for a watch, you better make sure it's not a knockoff. And for the average person, how are you going to know? Right? So Mr. Wonderful was up there saying, well, if you had a high reg image enough, you could compare because there's imperfections in every design on the dials that you can tell if it's real or not, because you can't knock off the imperfection. So I thought, okay, so I did pose him a question, and you'll see my question and his answer on Propy's social media site coming in. I asked him, well, what about real estate NFTs? And he was very clear. I mean, he gets it. He gets crypto, he gets blockchain. And he said, NFTs are going to be here to stay. NFTs absolutely will come across anything that has a physical property, physical asset that can be tied with a digital title, deed, or paperwork is going to be NFT'd, and we're going to see more and more coming. If you're an agent, that's one reason why you should look at the Propy certified, crypto certified agent course. Google cryptocurrency. What's the difference in blockchains? What's the difference in cryptocurrencies? Build up your knowledge, because your clients will start to talk about it. And I'm not even getting into the metaverse coming, where that's going to reshape how we do business as a client and consumer does business online. It will reshape it. And if, you know, the old saying, folks, if I knew then what I know now, okay, you don't have that argument now because I'm telling you where you need to go to learn. So you do know now. Study up on this, because, or ask your kids, because honestly, they probably already know most of it. All right, Jeremiah, it looks like you want to jump in here.
Well, you know what you're saying over there, it resonates so well with myself and so well with everyone else in the space. And it's something that just keeps ringing over and over. No matter what clubhouse group, what Twitter group you belong to, it means rights, values for everyone across the spectrum. Okay? Whether it be that of the metaverse, like you were saying, or the universe outside, the ability to validity, authentication of all parties involved, A and B, is what really has been the detriment to mass adoption. As you were saying, when NFTs become mainstream, it's going to be those authentic technologies and the individuals across the globe, such as Propy, in my opinion, which offer the greatest opportunity for human rights. It's this ability to ensure safe, quality, and secure housing, like what Propy is doing. And I refer to an instance during the Great Recession. It was there at a bar, and I asked a gentleman, hey, you like it here? He said, yeah, and we chat a little bit. I pointed to a building over there across the street. I said, hey, you like that? He goes, yeah, it's only 100,000. we laughed back and forth. He said, only if I had that money, you know, only if we could make that happen right now. Because, you know, we're just chatting, we're just meeting, we're hanging out. But he didn't have the money, and short story later, that building got sold. Someone painted a big mural on the side of what I believe horses, and then turned into a bar and below some apartments and dorms above. And the whole block was restored and carried on idea. The idea, though, was to be able to have that conversation, create a deal and offer an opportunity to another while mitigating the headache of verification, authenticating funds, so on and so forth. Would it not be nice to be able to offer your residents your commercial space or land within or outside of the metaverse or the universe and be able to do it in a smart way? Smart contracts, the blockchain, NFTs make this possible. And that's why I wanted to jump in. I'm excited. This is something that's going to change the world, because all that NFT is, and it took me so long to figure out how to spell it, it's just a non-tangible asset or tangible asset tied to a receipt. Same as you'd get at Walmart, same as you get at BJ's or Costco. Just a receipt saying you own it, tied to a thing, to authenticate it. But it's an open, transparent ledger. And that's what's fantastic. And that's why, I'm very excited for it. I'm so excited.
Great analogy. Stephen, any comments?
Yeah, I think you and I were talking in San Diego a little bit about where this whole cryptocurrency, blockchain, real estate world can go. And I often think about, what will real estate investment trusts look like in the future? And the other thing that comes to mind is these, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. Imagine if you were able to just buy into a company that owns real estate, with a couple of clicks of your mouse, rather than, having to go to an advisor who's taking a percentage. The universe with respect to real estate and cryptocurrency is wide open. And there are so many applications that I think will be relevant in the future when it comes to the purchasing of real estate. I mean, simply just the fractionalization of ownership, comes to
Wow. So you brought in, you did bring in fractionalization, DAOs, crypto folks. And if those are foreign terms to you, let me make it easy. I'm going to even share my screen because I don't do that often. If you've been watching my webinars, Propy.com, Propy.com. Go to products, look at the crypto certified agent course. If you take it, you pass the test, you can get a crypto certified agent badge that you can use on social media, your business card, but identify you as an agent that has an understanding of crypto. But more importantly, go down the lessons, click on each one. And these are just some of the areas of learning. What's a wallet? What are the different wallets out there? What's the difference between Coinbase, which does save your password, and those like Trust and others that do not? What does that mean? What are the different exchanges? What's the difference between tokenization? What is a DAO? How does this relate to the metaverse, which we just uploaded a new version in here? Propy.com. It's to help you be able to communicate with the Gen X, Gen Z buyers and sellers out there, because they are 30% of the market right now. We're going to see an increase in requests for crypto, whether on the buy side. We've already seen an uptick in deposits being made with crypto. We're now seeing an uptick in sellers accepting deposits in crypto because a seller wants, some hedge or diversification from cash, especially if you're in New York or California and you can get deposit in Bitcoin and cash, and then you take the cash to buy another house, depending on where the market conditions, folks, crypto is volatile. So be careful. We don't give investment advice, just investment awareness. While you're up there, take a look at Propy.com under products, under learn and earn. Because Propy right now also has a way for you agents, and you have to be licensed agents, to earn Propy tokens. You sign up, you get 100 tokens. We pay you to learn the product, basically, and to help with the marketing and awareness of Propy as we try to get people to understand the benefits of utilizing crypto and utilizing the blockchain technology to record your title and deed, as well as the transaction history, in which we utilize smart contracts. So as we approach the end here, I want to thank you all for joining us. Next week, we will have Natalia Karneva, and we will dive into DAOs and the metaverse. Stephen, any last words? What's your one or two takeaways for your fellow agents across the U.S.?
I am going to be tuning in to next week's webinar to hear Natalia talk about DAOs, because that is a topic that is burning on my mind. I mean, if Constitution DAO can raise $47 million from people to buy the Constitution, imagine if you could buy a building with that. So
Exactly. Jeremiah.
One takeaway I would have for all my fellow realtors was, if you haven't been thinking about becoming crypto certified, think about it now. Just take a chance, go to the website, see what it's all about, look at the old webinars, and just Google NFT Propy. It'll blow your mind. Thank you for having me here, Joe, today. Thank you,
And
Steve,
thank
for
you
talking.
all. And Joanna, make sure we get those talking points and make sure Natalia's schedule is booked. We're getting close to the holidays, folks. So I want to appreciate, thank you all. We will still be here the rest of the year. So if you're an agent or with a brokerage, and and especially if you have any crypto buyer case studies, I have an opening on the 29th or whatever, 2 weeks from now, in between Christmas and New Year's. I'd love to have you on. Reach out to me, joe@propy.com. That's joe@propy.com. Thank you all and have a good day.
thank you.